Good afternoon. If you're joining us, man, please help me share the show. We're going to be talking Liberia today. As always, we'll give you guys some updates on the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund, what's been transpiring, what's happening across the country. I was just in Liberia 2 days ago. Got some updates for you. Today, I promise you guys are going to speak on a very brief topic on the issue how we can expand the Liberian economy. I'm a firm believer that Liberia will not grow. A $800 million budget is not going to help the country if we do not find a way to expand the national budget to over $5 billion. And the topic here today, economic expansion, is paramount. How are we going to find ways to improve the conditions in the country? It's what keeps me up at night. If you're coming on board, please help me share the show. Let's Talk Liberia. I understand this. It's the Opa, so that you're not doing mine because people will not come to the show. I understand. We will continue to share the show. Like I said, we'll relay the show in Liberia as well. But if you're coming on board, let's discuss Liberia. Let's discuss the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund. And I will continue to say to you guys, an $800 million budget is not going to change Liberia. We have to find a way collectively to improve the national budget to north of $5 billion. It's just not going to be done in one day. No country did it in one day. They pushed, they pay a price, and they were willing to make sure they attain the national developmental goal they have for their country. We from the diaspora, we have a part to play. I've been speaking about the diaspora issue for some 4 years. I've gone everywhere, but we are trying now to breathe life into Liberian Diaspora Corporation. And I need you guys to join me. For those of you who has reached out to me, who purchased your shares, I want to thank you. And for those of you who still want to purchase a share, the information is available. Please reach out to me. The number is pinned. Let's talk Liberia. We must continue to talk about our country. The country is not going to develop. We'll be starting the show maybe in another 2 or 3 minutes. Please help me share the show. Let's discuss the issues that are paramount to our country. For once, it is not about politics. It's about the evolution of our republic. It's about job creation. It's about expanding the Liberian economy. It's about finding ways, ingenious ways, so we can grow the Liberian economy, expand the government tax base, but most important, and put a lot of Liberians to work back home so they can raise proper Liberian family. This is the goal of the corporation. This is what we intend to do. So please help me share the show. We start the show in 2 minutes. Let's discuss Liberia. Let's continue to push the issues that's going to lift the country. The politicking is okay. The plenty talking is fine. The mind cussing and everything on social media is okay. But once in a while, we have to go back. We have to digress from all of that and focus on the most important thing, which is how do we develop the country? How do we improve the conditions in the country? Look, I'll continue to say this to you guys. Those of us who've been fortunate to come to America, fortunate to have gone to Europe, fortunate to have gone to Australia, to a Western location where you can be able to make some money, raise a proper family. You have a duty, you have an obligation to look back to Liberia. The Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund, like I said, we are in our 6th week since we launched, and we are asking Liberians scattered all across the globe to listen to us, to join this effort so we can create small-scale manufacturing back home in Liberia. Like I said, I was in Liberia last week. We have presented our case to the administration. We've spoken to anybody that we can speak to be able to raise some money, to be able to raise this money here in America. We need seed money. We'll continue to push this narrative and say, listen, nothing good can come out of Liberia. This is what most of us will say. But what we refuse to understand, that nothing good is going to come out of Liberia until we ourselves post something good in Liberia. To the Liberian Diaspora Corporation, something good can come out of Liberia. But I will need you to join me. I will need you to join this collective effort so we can promote the image of Liberia, so we can put men and women to work. Men and women to work. Look, we have an operation in Liberia where we believe an $800 million budget, a chicken fee for 5.6 million people is going to somehow magically transform the country. I believe that the $800 million can start something if we budgeted our operation right, if we did not take the lion's share of our budget towards paying salaries and providing a cushioned lifestyle for government official. If it was targeted properly, where we can create small scale manufacturing across the country, we can create large scale fishing industry. We can do things that will expand the economy. Liberia is going to grow. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to pay a price to grow the country. This is the problem we're facing. We have to pay a collective price. You guys know what I'm trying to do. We are trying to raise $25 million. What I've done, anybody who's listening, look, maybe we're 100,000 people scattered across the diaspora, especially in the Western country. Maybe we're 200,000 people. Our number put the numbers around 200,000 to 500,000 people from Australia to Western Europe to parts of Africa, everywhere else where Liberians can make some money, and even Liberians back home. I was in the country a few days ago, maybe 2 days ago now, and I see the desperation of our people. The government is doing her part, but I believe we need to quicken the pace towards development. And part of quickening that pace is those of us in the diaspora, we must put boot to ground and take home something, a wheelbarrow factory, to put men to work, to put women to work. How are we going to do this? Look, we cannot grow as a society on an $800 million budget when nearly $700 million of that budget is used to pay for officials' upkeep. $700 million. And our budget is actually subsidized by Western countries, by the IMF. That we are burdening our future with debt. Our kids will have to pay back this debt because we are not thinking futuristically to realize that for Liberia to develop, certain commitments must be made. The Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund is a conduit through which we can develop the country. The government must listen to us and say, listen, help us with seed money so we can come in and put men to work. We have to put our brothers and sisters to work. If I don't care what President Bouaka does in the country, I'm going to say this very slowly so everybody can understand me. I don't care what anybody does. President Bouaka, like he can greater all the roads in Liberia and pave them. They will mean absolutely nothing if we do not put these men to work. Mr. President, like I said a few days ago, Liberian men and women must go to work. Our people are living under desperate conditions. We don't know what else to say. We must take jobs home to Liberia for Liberia to grow. The national budget is too small, but we're taking the money and we're just paying salaries. We need to do more. The Liberian Diaspora Corporation can spearhead this operation to help the government grow the national tax base of the country through private enterprise. Public-private partnership is what we are aiming to do. Mr. President, we are presenting our case to you. You know what we intend to do. We cannot do this part-time. It cannot be done part-time. If I pushed and we cannot raise the money, I would just return the money back to the people that I've paid and say, listen, the Liberian, they're not interested in true development. Let me tell you something. The government of our republic cannot develop Liberia with the current makeup that is in Liberia. The current makeup of government cannot develop the country. We must bring home private entities, private enterprise to expand the Liberian economy in Kakata, to create massive amount of jobs in the southeastern portion of the country. This is doable. To be able to expand Grand Bassa County, to expand Monrovia. This is the only way. We will talk every young person in the country, and I'm not blaming these young people. The only thing they care about, they want to leave the country. Why shouldn't they want to leave? My little brother Kenneth Masakwa is here. He was in the country a few months ago. Now, he felt how he left the country. The only way a Liberian can get a future, he has to literally leave the country. We are draining the essence out of Liberia because we're not willing to develop industry in the country that will keep the young people grounded into our country so we can expand the Liberian economy. I've asked for a think tank. They put money on the ground. They build a wheelbarrow factory that can cost you $1 million to build. Let's build a large-scale fishing industry that can cost you $3-4 million to start up that. Let's build a large-scale garment factory, $3-4 million. We will raise the money, but we are asking for seed money. Liberians are continuing to contribute. Mr. Dwalu, I want 10 shares. Mr. Dwalu, I want 5 shares. And we are continuing to cater to them, but we cannot do this part-time. We must quit our job so we can come home properly, so we can build the Liberian Diaspora University, so we can build the Liberian Diaspora Hospital, so we can create jobs for our people. Let me tell you something. It is okay for you to send $100 home to your relatives. There's nothing wrong with it. It's okay to send home $40 to a friend that you're helping him out. It's good in that instance. But you know what is better? It's for us to pull our resources and give him a permanent job that pays him $300 a month for the rest of his life so he can go to work, so he can raise a proper family. But when we say this, nobody listens. And I can guarantee you right now, if I started cussing everybody now, this place will be crowded. And this is the society we've become. We are dumbing down the society. We are forgetting the things that are of the greatest value to our society. Nobody cares about it. The dignity of our community, the strengthening of the Liberian family so we can grow proper children that can be better than we are today. The lifting of quality schools across our country. This can be done through private enterprise. The promoting of dignity and morality in our community. This can be done through creating an environment, an enabling environment that is buttressed not just by government, but by the private sector, so we can grow Liberian industry. Economic expansion is paramount for our society to grow. An $800 million budget is not going to help the Republic. We have to find a way to expand the Liberian tax base. And the truest way, the only possible way this has been done is through expanding the private sector. It's through growing the private sector. It's through planting a seed in the private sector so that seed can grow massively. And then you can reap the reward through tax collection, and we can expand the government tax base. Remember, the Liberian Diaspora Corporation aims to achieve 4 basic tasks in Liberia. 4 simple tasks in Liberia. Primarily, is to make our shareholders some money. That's our goal, to make our shareholders money primarily. Number 2 is to create thousands amount of jobs across the country in strategic locations that will be able to grow the Liberian economy. That's number 2. Number 3 is so that the Liberian diaspora can have economic influence in their own country. Through economic clout, we can create a kind of industry that will give us a talking point in Liberia where we can live our society. That's number 3. Remember, number 1 is to make our shareholders money. Number 2 is to create massive amount of jobs across the country. Number 3 is to make sure we have economic influence in the country. And number 4 is to get Liberian expertise back to Liberia. How do we get the expertise back to the country? It's through private enterprise. You cannot take a man from Dallas, Texas, and you say, listen, come back to Liberia. He's coming back to what? But if I take that same man and say, listen, come back to the country and work for the Liberian Diaspora Corporation. This is your salary. It's comparable to what you're making in America. Help us to expand Bapuru City. Help us to expand the high schools across the country. This is how it has been done from time immemorial. But what we've done to our country, we are not willing to pay a price to develop the country. That price has to be paid. The corporation is here. The corporation is reaching out. And we are saying to every single person in the country who will hear my voice that Liberia will not develop until we from the diaspora put our money together, build some industry in the country, put thousands of people to work, improve the government tax base, and then we can have our country headed towards the right direction. We have no controls in the country, but all we talk about is we want control, but we don't want to put our money into it, be able to develop that control. Let me tell you something. Control is developed. Control is strategic. Control is groomed. Control is strengthened. Control is maintained, and then control takes over. How are we going to take over if we don't develop something in the country? We must develop private enterprise. This is the only thing I asked the president for. If we can develop Liberian private enterprise, it will make me the happiest man. Liberians possess the expertise now to come to the country and start small-scale manufacturing. We in the diaspora, we must do this. We must put some money to work so we can be able to develop something in the country. We cannot continue to send money home that just go into a circle. The money gets in the country, the foreigner scooped up the US dollar, they ship it to their country because they are just turning the money over to them by buying from them. Not a single flour mill is in the country. We can do that. The corporation can build a flour mill. Not a single fishing industry is in the country, besides the Fanti Kingdom and the crew kingdoms that can barely catch 3 fish at times. Imagine we bring in 3-4 vessels, massive fishing vessels. They cost 500,000 to $1 million a piece. We build a massive cold story, maybe perhaps in Cape Mount. We name these vessels the Grand Bassa, the Grand Cru, the Maryland, the Cape Mount. They go to sea. We build a 1 million square foot coastal warehouse somewhere in Robertsport, somewhere in Buchanan, somewhere in Monrovia. We package the fish for exports. We create thousands of jobs across the country. The corporation is more than capable of doing this. For those of you that will hear my voice later on, I want you to listen to me. Liberia will not develop until her sons and daughters make a concerted effort, make a calculated decision to intentionally develop our society to do great, to do a cooperative, to do collaborative effort, to do a calculation to say, you know what, we're going to go to Bonneville and we're going to build a massive Rubbermaid company out there. We're going to take the trash from across the country and we're going to turn it into something viable to live to society. We're going to ensure the young men that are lingering across the country can be put to proper use to do private enterprise. This is how it's been done across the globe for the last 2,000 years. But we have refused to do anything for our society. All we do is talk, but we are not willing to experience the pains of development. Yet and still we say we want development. It doesn't work that way, my people. The Arabs will come to the country. They will rule over us through economics. The Indians are pouring into our country. They are taking what belongs to us because we are not willing to pay a price. The Chinese are flooding into our country. We are like peasants in our own country when we have the same mind, the capacity to develop from within. When are we going to put boot to ground and realize that for Liberia to truly take a proper place, her sons and daughters must pay a price, must pay a collective price, must be willing to say, you know what, we are going to commit to Bapalo County. And we're going to build a massive garment factory here where we are making sneakers, we are making pants, we are making shirts, we are making baby clothing that are sold regionally or that are sold right there in Liberia. The machines are available. There is absolutely nothing that is being currently used in Liberia that cannot be produced in Liberia. Most of the motorcycles you see, they can be initially assembled in Liberia if we invest into this thing. But the goal is to create the jobs locally, to put men and women to work. But most of all, we take pleasure. When your brother call you from back home, I mean, not easy. If he send me $40, let me buy my little bag of rest. Then we believe we are doing something. We are doing absolutely nothing. What we are doing is we are expanding the abject poverty of our society because we are not increasing the output of our society to the enterprise. Mr. President, the great United States, I'm going to say this to you, Mr. President Jose Yuman Boakai. Subsidies grow this country. You spoke about the private-public partnership. We've come to you last week. I sat at your table a few days ago, and we continue to beg you to help us with seed money so we can raise this money, so we can put Liberian men and women to work. The money can be refunded to the government. I've even gone as far as saying, listen, I'm willing to collateralize this money with my building in Liberia to say, you know what? Let's raise this money. Let's build a flour mill somewhere in Monrovia or somewhere in Cape Mount that will put 300 men to work. Let's start a large-scale fishing industry that's going to put 3, 4, maybe 10,000 men and women to work, both direct and indirect jobs. Let's go to Lofa County. and invest $10 million into rice production, we can raise this money. We can raise the $25 million. But it takes money to raise money. I've called, I've written anywhere that I can write. And it's not easy. I can't do this part-time. I have to quit my job to be able to raise this money so my brothers and sisters can go to work, so we can build something in the country that we control. We cannot continue to rely on a meager budget that will not develop anything in the society. If we do not get this budget to over $2, $3, maybe $5 billion, where we can hasten the developmental process of our society, nothing is going to change. This country is going to be like a ferry in a Ferris wheel. Every year, we run the same budget. We're close to 90% goes towards recurring costs. And that cost is meant to fatten officials who believe they have arrived. They drive in $75,000 vehicle in a dirt poor location comfortably. And our men and women are not going to work. Mr. President, you promised to help us revamp the private sector. Our support was in this direction, that we believe that you will help us revamp the private sector so our brothers can go to work, so our sisters can go to work, so we can have proper marriages where Papa can come home properly. Liberia would die if our families continue to be dissolved. The Liberian family is dissolving because there are no jobs. These men will have no respect from these women. Nobody respects anybody because there is no order in our society. We must bring order to Liberia. We must bring cohesion, Mr. President. We must revamp the private sector to put men and women to work. If we don't do this, our society will continue to become chaotic, and we are going nowhere. Everybody around us is developing. The Ghanaians are touching the heavens. I'm jealous. The Rwandan and the Burkinabes are touching the heavens. The Guineans are building massive amount of rail lines from our border straight back into Conakry, and we are stagnated permanently. It doesn't mean we don't have the brain capacity. It's because we are not putting the money in the right places. Liberian men are idle. 2 days ago, I was driving from Monrovia. I was going back into Painesville. And I look at my people, and I see my brothers and sisters, malnourished. They look awful. They're walking hopelessly, with no hope, aimlessly, no hope of any kind. How do we sleep at night when our brothers and sisters have no hope? Mr. President, we have a duty, the duty of a highest calling, to look to Liberia, to elevate this country. We cannot neglect our brothers and sisters, Mr. President. We must find a way to put them to work. I don't know how I'm going to do this, or we are going to do this. I don't know how we are going to find a way to let up Bapuru City. I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to turn Vonjima into a bustling metropolis, but I know one thing. I know this, that I believe through private enterprise, we can begin to breathe life back into Liberia, into my beloved Grand Bassa County. We can breathe life back into the society that we so dearly love, Mr. President. You tell us to think Liberia. You tell us to live Liberia. You tell us to love Liberia. You cannot love a location if we do not put money in the pockets of our brothers and sisters to do job creation. We must create jobs. We must revamp the private sector for Liberia to grow, Mr. President. We need you. When you needed us, Mr. President, we came to you. We spoke for you. We spent our own money, tens of thousands of dollars, to make sure you become president of our republic. Or we are begging you and say, let's help us put men to work. This is all we ask. They tell us, oh, Mr. Dwalu, you told us to vote for the president. You're recording us. You tell us if we don't vote for the president, Liberia is doomed. We are being shamed because we are not doing what we promised the people to put them to work. We must put these men to work, Mr. President. We need your help now. We need your help. The men in Kidman must go to work. The men in Nima County must go to work. We can build the factories, but we need a little bit of help Just a little bit of help. Liberians in the diaspora are willing to raise this money. It costs money to raise money, Mr. President. We're asking for seed money. We've done everything. We're written. So anybody I can write to. But we must put our brothers and sisters to work to give men dignity so they can be respected in their own country. We are the peasants in our country. Peasants, that's what we have become. Go see our brothers. If I did not come to America, I'd probably become a wheelbarrow boy in Liberia. I'm probably on the highway somewhere in Buchanan, setting a possum trap, maybe fishing in the St. John River, trying to catch a little bit of catfish to sell for nothing less than $1. I'll be nothing. This is why I put myself in the position, because I know the condition under which they live. If we do not find a way to elevate this country to do private enterprise, we will be stuck in one place. The budget is not sufficient, Mr. President. We must expand the Liberian economy to do private enterprise so these men can go to work. We can put thousands of men to work. In the next 3 to 5 years, we can put 20,000 men to work. We can present to you the strategies to put them to work. We can put these women to work. We can keep the Liberian family together to do job creation. Look at our communities. Look at the dissolution of the Liberian family. I love to go to the interior. Me and my kids went all the way towards Handy. We were on Kakata Highway. We saw some people who went to the villages. We see hope fleeing from our country. It's dream entirely. There is no hope. Our people are living on prayer and hope. Prayers will not put food on their tables. I don't care how many times they pray. We must bring ingenuity. We must bring grit. We must bring tenacity. We must bring factories. We must bring light. We must bring water. We must bring togetherness. We must bring resources and capital to the country so we can put men and women to work. But our government must help. Receive money so we can raise the money. We can raise the $25 million, Mr. President. We can refund this money back to the government if that's what you want. Or you can become a part of the public-private partnership that puts countless Liberian men to work. Look at the conditions of our people. We must commend the president for some of the roads that he's building across the country. But Mr. President, we must find a way. You cannot do this alone. We must put these men to work. We must put these women to work. We can begin the process. The Liberians in the diaspora are rallying around. You came here into Providence and you made a pledge that you will fully incorporate the Liberian diaspora to be able to contribute to their society, not necessarily through government jobs, but through creating private sector jobs across our country. We want to go into Zwedru and bring smile to our people. We want to go into Tucson. We want to go into Sesto, into Barclayville, into Lexington, and we can bring smile to the faces of our people to the private enterprise. This can be done. The Liberian Diaspora Corporation is not set up like any society that has developed a government, put some money into developing that private sector. And as the private sector grows, the government releases it gradually and say, go ahead and fly and grow your society. This is what we seek. This is what we aim to do. The economic viability of our country will not happen if we don't pump money into the private sector to be able to groom Liberian entrepreneurs that can expand our economy to building a wheelbarrow factory, to taking over the rock crushing business, to buying trucks and setting up companies across the country, to building decent quality hospital, to the private sector, building Liberian Diaspora University in our country, where we can get express back into the country to groom the next engineers and the next economists that will grow our country. How are we going to transform Liberia if we continue to be dormant in our approach to nation building? How are we going to do this? I published 2 papers, and I encourage you guys to read it when I publish it on my page today, A Simple Economic Guide to Fix Liberia. Google and check it out. And the second paper was A Guide to Increasing Liberia $800 million budget to over $2 billion in 10 years. I give you step-by-step approach how we can do this. The private sector is the way to go, Mr. President. We are begging you, like you beg us, to campaign aggressively for you, to put boot on the ground, to use our resources, to say to our people, this is an option. Mr. President, with His Honor, Joseph Yimon Bwaka is the best option to transform this country. And we must come to full bear to help you transform our country. This cannot be done alone. We must quicken the pace towards development. The pace must be hastened. If we do not hasten the pace, Mr. President, there are people that are dollars out there that say, Mr. Dwally, you all fail. Our legacy is equal to tie to your legacy because we preach a message that you can transform this country. And we still believe that you can do this, Mr. President. But we must build the private sector. We must improve the conditions of our people to the private enterprise. The government is too slow. The private sector will be much, much faster. We are willing to raise the money. The money is being raised, Mr. President. The very first couple of weeks, over 100,000 United States dollars came in right at this desk. I began processing those documents, sending it out to Liberians. But I must get on the roll. I must get 3 to 6 other people to join me to get on the roll, to go to Liberian churches across the country, across the globe, to go to Liberian communities here in the diaspora and bring a simple message. And that message is, our country is dying. We must find a way to breathe life back into Liberia. We cannot be left so far behind. We are not reinventing the wheel, Mr. President. The wheel has already been built. We will read the books. We take tremendous pleasure in reading the books. We will come up with the strategies to make sure we develop Sesto City. We can put a processing operation out there. We will go to Mount Beloved Buchanan and put men to work. We can build this, Mr. President, but you must believe in the Liberian expertise that are scattered all across the globe to be able to build private enterprise, to do ingenuity, to do collective effort, to do strategy, to do force implementation, with the recognition that our country cannot continue to be called third world country. We must find a way to develop private enterprise that will grow this society. To grow this society, we must grow our beloved homeland. Mr. President, we cannot leave this country like this and we depart this earth. It will be a massive disservice to our children, a massive disservice. Every year, my daughter reminds me in January, she said, oh, Daddy, it's January. Don't say, I'll tell you, the plum season in Liberia is April. She was just there 2 days ago. Every year, she won't go to Liberia when the plum season comes because she believes Liberian plum, the German plum, the best tasting plum in the world. I get old force me to buy a plane ticket for her to go to Liberia. She will remind me in January, then we'll go in April. So now for the April vacation, now 1 week, my daughter Cecilia will come to Liberia and she will just eat the plum. Right now, the plum dealing with her. She's dealing with her right now. But anyways, she loves Liberia. Her 3 kids love Liberia. They want to be able to come to their home country and knowing that we did everything to build a society that is far better, where they can come and truly enjoy their heritage. And I'm pretty sure this is true for most every Liberian living across the globe. We must find a way, Mr. President, but we need you to help us to be able to develop private enterprise across our country. We can raise to $25 million. I have absolutely no doubt that this is doable. But I will remind you, Mr. President, when you spoke in Providence, this is what you said, and I'm paraphrasing, Mr. President, that the Liberian diaspora hold tremendous potential. I agree, 100%. And you continue. The Liberian diaspora have tremendous opportunity to offer Liberia. We just have to find a way to harness that opportunity and take it back home, Mr. President. This is what you presented to us. You lit this fire in me, that we can build a private sector that can rival any across the globe. I know people would doubt this, but I have absolutely no doubt that we can build something so great, so grand, that our society will continue to grow. We can grow the national budget and truly hasten and quicken the pace of development of our society. It is the private sector that holds the key to expanding the Liberian national budget above $5 billion. This is more than doable. This is more than doable. You spoke and realized that the Liberian diaspora has a role to play in the country. This cannot just be spoken to the world, Mr. President. This must be put to action. The manpower is available to put this to action. We must dedicate a portion of this budget to help him raise this money so we can go home and tell the young men and women that are graduating from BWI, that are graduating from the University of Liberia, in the thousands across the universities from across the country, from Tubman University, that are graduating. Say, listen, you don't have to sit on that degree for 10 years that you forget everything. Come over. Let's hone your skills through the private sector that make you better accountants and better engineers and better lawyers and economists and better managers and better social workers, so we can let up this country to rival any that God has ever created. This is possible. I have no doubt. The proclamations that were made here in Providence, Rhode Island, Mr. President, that the Liberian diaspora possess tremendous potential to transform our country. I believe you. Please don't put us to shame. You know what we did to bring this country and present it to you, say, Mr. President. Here's our country. Let's quicken the pace of development to the private entity, to the private enterprise. Let's find Liberia best and brightest minds to come back to the country so we can breathe life into Vunjima, into Foya, into Bapulu, into Robert Sports. Let's breathe life back into our country. Mr. President, I'll remind you every chance I get that if we do not put these men to work, if we do not put these women to work, it doesn't matter what you do in the country, Liberia will consider your presidency a failure. Your presidency cannot become a failure because we too will be considered failures because we champion your vision. We champion this cause. We must come home to elevate our country to the private enterprise. This has to be done. This cannot be delayed. We cannot continue to kick the can down the road to our children while we're burning our children and we do nothing in the now. As I'm about to leave you, Mr. President, I want to say this to you, and I want to say this to the legislature of our republic. You have a duty of the highest calling, not just to change your own standard of living, but to change the standard of living for the better of every single Liberian in our country. If you have not done that, you fail. I know sometimes we don't care about the burden of failure. Officials say, you know what, wrong? So long I'm good, my children are good. I don't care what anybody says, I'm okay, Liberia is fine. I want you to look around you. I want you to look at our society. The men have turned to beggars. Our women, substantially, they become debaucherous because they're left with no option. The private sector can transform this. Let's give our women options again. Let's give the men dignity to do employment. Let's put these men to work to the private enterprise. The Liberian diaspora can raise the $25 million to be able to create factories across the country. I'm about to leave you. I remind you the objective of the Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund is to achieve four basic tasks. Number one is to make our shareholders money. Number two is to create massive amount of jobs across the country to the private enterprise. Number three is to have economic influence in our country so we can decide the direction of our society. Number four is to get Liberian expertise back into the country so we can begin to up the human capital of our society through ingenuity. I want full control of my country through economics. I want us to control the ports, the imports and exports of our country. I want us to control every single commerce in the country. I want us to create Liberian millionaires so they can go back into Foya, they can go back into Vunjima, they can go back into Seklepie and Ban and Wiala and Totota so they can be able to breathe that life back into our society. We must do this. Not just for us, but I believe posterity will judge us right if we do what is required to transform this society. Mr. President, you made a pledge, not just to me, not just to the people, but to Jehovah God himself. That you, as president, will lift this country through ingenuity. We must quicken the pace for our society. I was in Liberia for about 10 days. You got no idea what I went through. Our people are so down. They believe there is no hope. I see what you're doing, Mr. President. I see the road construction. And I see the unfolding of your strategy, but it's slow, Mr. President. We must come to help. Because if you fail, we fail. We must quicken the pace towards development. We must hasten the process so that people can believe in this vision. The vision of Joseph Yemabwaka must be believed by our people. But they must be able to see it quickly. Men must go to work. And the Liberian diaspora, as you said, has tremendous potential. Tremendous potential. How do we harness this potential and breathe life back into Ba, into Tututa, into Wiala, into Foya? How do we do that? Collective effort. The Liberian diaspora must take a proper place. The Liberian Diaspora Equity Fund will ensure that proper place is seated by the Liberian Diaspora Corporation, and we can come home in a major way. We can come home in a way that elevates the country to the private enterprise. And I will continue to say this to my people that are listening across the globe and that will listen later on. Please, our women are being indignified. Our men have no dignity because they lack employment. Our society, in some respect, is digressing because people don't see the forward direction of the society. We must make them see your vision, Mr. President. We have a duty. And the duty that we champion to make you president, to bring you to power, is to also make them to feel your vision of lifting Liberia, loving Liberia. And together we can build Liberia and make this place our heritage. And we can bequeath this to our children, knowing that we did everything to leave a better Liberia to our children than was left to us. We have a duty. For those of you in the diaspora, remember, we were launching our first event here in the state of Massachusetts. It will be the 31st Eventbrite. You can go there and purchase your ticket. There will be an in-person presentation by myself and other people that will be coming to that meeting. We'll be talking Liberia and how we can find a way to elevate the country to the private enterprise. Look, if you go to Liberia by yourself and you took business, it's very difficult for you to become successful. But if you go as a block, where the officials of that block will be permanently living in Liberia to develop private enterprise, we have a greater potential of actually succeeding. And I believe we will succeed because we have the proper tools. We have all the preparations. We understand the ground. And we will make that collective effort to be able to put our brothers and sisters to work. Because I believe when they start working, we can grow the government tax base. The government can have more money to put towards more infrastructure, and we can quicken the pace towards development. As I leave you, I will remind you of this. Liberia should matter far above each of us. Far above each of us. And for Liberia to matter, we must put money into Liberia strategically so we can be able to develop our country through private enterprise, through industry, through building things that elevate the country and grow the economy of our society. Economic viability is paramount towards the development of our society. We must shake this economy of Liberia so it can get bigger and bigger and bigger so we can grow a society that is controlled, that is championed by Liberians themselves. And we must create local Liberian millionaires so they can develop their own country. Once again, my name is Ansu Opa Dwalu, and I'm broadcasting from the great state of Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It was a pleasure as always.